I'm Georgia Lieneman and welcome to Friday's 5 at 5. Many people across the southern part of the coast have brown water coming out of their taps, and despite reassurances from the council, many residents remain unconvinced the water is safe to drink or wash in. Kilcare Heights resident Sharon McAvoy believes drinking the water over recent weeks resulted in severe diarrhoea. We spoke with Council's Director of Water and Sewer, Jamie Loader, who reassured us that there was little to be concerned about.
So we've got a very thorough testing and sampling program. There's a lot of testing and sampling done in line at the treatment plant itself. We also carry out regular sampling and testing in the network on reservoirs and in certain locations across the LGA, and that information is fed through, and we review that straight away. So we're confident that there aren't any issues in the network, and if there are, then we've got notification procedures that we need to follow. We need to notify Department of Health and all those sorts of things. We've been keeping the Department of Health informed of our actions in relation to this coloured water issue, and they've raised no concerns with us.
Central Coast Mayor Lisa Matthews has had a baptism of both fire and flood since assuming the role in September last year. David Abrahams caught up with the Mayor to ask how the council staff and fellow councillors have been holding up after a tumultuous summer.
Look, I have to say that our staff and the councils are faring up well, considering that it's been really tough. First we had fires and now we've had floods. So our community and everybody alike have been suffering and hurting, but I believe that what we're good at is resilience and coming back, and I believe that we are on the road to recovery. Look, we always knew it was going to be tough. This will be my third election year, I guess, in relation to my time on this council and the previous council. Expected, I guess some of the personal tax not expected, but for me, it's about just continually moving forward and showing the community that we are good leaders and that we are getting it right. And decisions will be made between now and then, and I'm hoping that the decisions will be made for the betterment of the community, not the detriment.
And March 8th, of course, is International Women's Day, and this year's Generation Equality campaign seeks to bring together people of every gender, age, ethnicity, race, religion and country to drive actions that will create a gender-equal world. Key goals of the event, among others, are to end gender-based violence, support economic justice, bodily autonomy, sexual and reproductive health, and stronger feminine leadership.
Look, our numbers for our staffing levels are 44% women within council. I think that's a great stat for us. We've got a long way to go. We know that we can probably lift that bar a little bit. We've got 35% of women in leadership roles. And again, when you look at 44 to 35, not great, but certainly it's on its way up and it's improving, and that's under our leadership.
Well, a plan tabled with federal government late last year by Nuclear for Climate Australia has identified the Central Coast as one of many possible locations in New South Wales for the construction of 18 nuclear reactors. The group believes nuclear energy presents the best alternative to coal-fired power. The study sites are Raring, Vales Point and Marmora, given their access to cooling water and existing grid infrastructure.
So this week I tabled a report by the New South Wales Upper House Standing Committee on State Development. We inquired into a existing piece of legislation which is a statewide ban on uranium mining and nuclear facilities. Now, after chairing that inquiry since June 2019 and hearing a lot of evidence from a lot of witnesses, I have to say the evidence has been overwhelming and compelling. If we want to decarbonise and if we want zero emissions in New South Wales and Australia, then we must have a mature and informed debate around the next generation technologies coming forward in nuclear power. They're coming online in the next few years in the United States and elsewhere. So it's high time for Australia and New South Wales to join the dozens of developed countries around the world that employ baseload, emissions-free nuclear power and do it safely. France gets over 70% of its power from nuclear sources. Hungary and Belgium, over 50% of their power. Sweden, 40%, Switzerland, 34%, and the UK and the USA, around 20% of their power needs. Nuclear power will happen in Australia, in New South Wales, in my lifetime. I'm the youngest member of Parliament. I'm 29 years old. It's going to happen because we can't keep going on polluting our airways.
Central Coast Council have finally released their financial accounts after almost 6 months of delays. We crossed to David Abrahams to unpack some of the main points. David?
Well, thanks, Georgia. We've been waiting for this budget for some time, almost 6 months, in fact. It was meant to be delivered well last year. This was the last financial year. Look, the good news is that the budget is in $62 million surplus. The strange news is we're in a $5.1 million deficit. Now, that's an operating deficit, which means basically promissory notes that come from other places, namely state and federal government, haven't come in yet. Of course, they will, and therefore we get our $62 million surplus. Where the council has hit most of its targets, notably on across the board, which is good news. However, a little bit of underperformance in collecting of rates. So our rates payment to council is a little bit down, so we may expect a little sharpening there. Likewise, there's been an overspend, according to the budget, of $14.6 million for staff costs. That is, redundancies and other staff and industrial claims have gone up. There are a little bit of underperformance too as far as asset upgrades and maintenance is concerned. So keep this all in mind, that this is almost a $1 billion budget. That's a $1,000 million budget. I think it's around $900 million. If it was on the ASX, as a private company, we'd be well in the top 50 companies. This is one of the largest council areas and budgets in New South Wales. So we should pay attention to it. Some people online have been asking the councillors to get their heads around this so that they could ask the appropriate questions. Fortunately, council does have a risk and audit committee that looks at this very closely. So back to you, Georgia. Looks like we're in reasonable shape.
Thanks, David. Well, as the number of confirmed coronavirus cases in New South Wales climbed to 22 yesterday, local health authorities have advised residents that online grocery delivery services are available in most areas. The advice follows a rush of panic buying in specific items, notably toilet paper. The rush prompted Woolworths to impose a limit on toilet paper packs to ensure all customers have access to the products. A spokesperson for Central Coast Local District Health said it was prudent for households to have a small stock of non-perishable groceries in case households are asked to self-isolate. 14-year-old cycling dynamo Lilia Tatarinov has claimed 5 gold medals in 5 events in the New South Wales Under-15 Track Cycle Championships at the Dunk Gray Velodrome in Sydney. Lilia took out the 500-metre time trial, the scratch race, the Kieran sprints race, and as you can see here, overpowered her opponents in the gruelling 30-lap point race. Avoca Beach played host to elite surfers from all over the world at the Vizsla Sister Revolution World Surf League qualifying event last Saturday. Local star Ace Buchan staked his claims early in the day, winning his quarter-final with 2 very solid waves, including this one. But he was subsequently defeated by Port Macquarie's Matt Banting in the semi, who then went on to clinch the final.
And, well, Matt Banting, this is his second ride here. No, this is his first ride. We're going back to his first ride here. And you can see those first 2 turns as we watch this replay.
The Sydney Roosters have announced their inaugural women's team for the 2020 New South Wales Women's Premiership. The Central Coast Roosters will be based at the club's new high-performance facility at Tuggerah Lakes Secondary College. To coincide with the launch, the Roosters have secured Central Reel as a major partner of the program during 2020. And Central Coast Reel CEO Richard Ellis earlier this week showed off the team's new kit with local stars Isabel Kelly and Jane Prasad. And another painful loss last weekend for the Mariners, inflicted by Western United with a final score of 6-2 with Michael Burgess scoring a hat-trick.
Bunty wants Max Burgess, and Burgess! Wasn't thinking shoot before anything else. Clever from Payne. Burgess, can he make it a double? Hitting rolls and hitting the post. Yes, it is a...
Coast Environmental Alliance is pushing for a moratorium on all developments which have an environmental impact where koala habitat has been identified. Spokesperson Jake Kassar said the group was calling for a halt to the Wallaroo coal mine until independent studies can take place regarding the koala colonies in and around the area. And CEA are holding a community rally in Gosford on March 13th to seek public support. Well, that's all for this week. Thanks for joining us. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll see you again next week for Friday's 5 at 5.